Whoa.
I'm Brent Leary.
Paul Greenberg.
For the 16th year, we are the CRM Playaz.
That's ever since we were each 11.
Well, you know what that means. We've been bringing the as.
Wow.
Got to make sure you get that in there right. Just got to keep saying that.
We have to keep saying. I'm raising Arizona or bringing Arizona, bringing the as.
Well, whatever. We've been doing it for since 2009. I mean, we are a new year of bringing the as. How does that make you feel?
Well, I'm thinking A is the first letter of the alphabet, Z is the last letter. So hopefully somewhere this year we'll start filling in the other 24. Right. So
hey, it's 2025.
Yeah.
The last time we did this, it was 2024.
Oh my God, that long ago.
Yeah, you know. It feels like I guess we haven't done this in what, 3 weeks or something like that?
Yeah.
Did you enjoy your time away from doing this?
No. No, I missed doing this, but I also, you know what it's like. It's like you sit around in Christmas season and you're doing 8 million other things you got to do related to relatives and everybody else, which is fine and fun, but half the time I just wanted to spend my day with sitting on a chair and with my head, staring at a TV set and not do much more. I was just like, okay. And also December 31st was the last day that I ever intended to make money through advisory ever.
So you're glad that you're not going to make any money this year? Is that
well? It's a little weird to be honest.
But you know what isn't weird?
What?
Happy 2025 from Rebecca, and I know it was really Patrick that put her up to.
I know. I can't wait to see Rebecca in a very short period of time, which I am sure we'll get to.
Oh, and look who else. Now, this is kind of odd.
Okay.
Unless the chosen language this time around for the moment is
wow. Sven, starting 2025. Let's see. Let's guess the language.
I think that's pretty much a layup for us. I don't know.
I'm not sure. Maybe it's like a secret. It's like how they say Happy New Year in like Esperanto.
I'm just going to go with Occam's razor and that's English. So
yeah, I think I'll go with that one too.
Well, that was a very short and sweet moment of Sven to kick off the new year. So.
But you know what? Thank God we actually had that moment of Sven.
Sven is back, baby. Sven is back.
We are, Sven. I got to tell you, that makes us really happy that you're back.
No, we'll see. I don't want to go too far with all that. We'll see if he's back next week.
We're counting on it. Moment of Sven's important.
Yeah. You know what else we're counting on? Oh, I love these segues here.
Whoa.
We got a few housekeeping.
Oh, okay. Start off the New Year's right. Got the word right.
By the way, I got to tell you, we're off to a really good start because our guest is already in the green room.
Holy cow.
Look, I always give our guests look, we do our little spiel for the first 25, 30 minutes or so. And so if you could just, join us about 25 minutes, at 3:25 Eastern, that's great. Because quite honestly, I don't know who the hell wants to really listen to us babble on for that long amount of time.
Well, clearly the people who want to listen to us babble on are you and me.
Well, that's and Sven makes 3,
That's right. And Sven, but he's part of the show. I mean, there's no doubt about that.
So before we get too far on and give the obligatory update for IRL 2025, I do, and look, some things kind of have changed, but this one hasn't changed. So I'm gonna do this one. So my first few good minutes of 2025 will be next Wednesday at a interesting time, 11:30 a.m. Eastern.
Okay.
But I am really looking forward to it because now I met Kelly Romack. It was at an Oracle Open World conference, and I believe she was I think she was at Walmart. I think it was Walmart. And so I got actually, our good friend, Kim Guion, she's always coming up with these good ideas and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. So she set me up to speak with Kelly, and we did a few good minutes right from the floor at Oracle Open World. I think it was still still in Vegas? I think it was still in Vegas. I don't know. No, it was actually this was when it was actually still at the what's that place in San Francisco?
Moscone.
Yeah, the Moscone.
Oh wow, that's years ago.
That I think we're going back to 2018 time frame.
Okay.
And so we had a really good conversation back then. And I was just like looking on LinkedIn not too long ago, and I saw something from her pop up. And I was like, oh, it's Kelly Romack. I haven't talked to her in a long time. And I was like, oh, I wonder how things are going on at Walmart. And then I looked, she's no longer at Walmart. She's the chief digital information officer at ServiceNow of all places.
You know what? That's the thing I will tell you about ServiceNow. It's no longer kind of all places, if you know what I mean. It's like, what would you expect? Right at this point, that I know that anecdotally, whenever I talk to people about, like executives who are moving on and they call, or, we communicate in some way and they reach out to say, hey, do you know of anything? And one of the questions I always ask is, well, if you had your first choice to work anywhere, where would it be? And the company that comes up considerably ahead of everybody else the most.
The Los Angeles Rams.
No, well, that's a different sphere altogether.
Okay, yeah.
Right. I mean, everybody wants to work for them. Right. So no, it's ServiceNow. And I will tell you, I'm not going to say who, because I'm not sure it's public yet, but a very, very good friend of mine just got a very significant position as of a couple of days ago at ServiceNow.
Really?
Yeah.
Sure, you don't want to break news?
I don't know that I can. It might be public, but I don't really know. But and in a few weeks, and I guess early February sometime, we're going to be having the man. We are no longer that day, but
yeah, right.
Like there he is.
Colin Fleming, who we've been around so long because we meet people at one place and like 5 jobs later, they're still around doing great stuff.
Yeah.
And we're still sitting in the same place, which I don't know what that says about us, but
it says that I'm 75 and let's say you're considerably younger, but we have achy bones.
Achy bones?
Achy bones.
Why do I think of that Billy Ray Cyrus?
I knew you were going to say it too.
Yeah, anyway, so we think we're going to have to reschedule, but Colin Fleming, who famously we met for the first time when we saw that he was the person in charge of Salesforce Plus during the pandemic. And we really have great folks we know over there. Ann Chin, we just when we saw the announcement, we lobbed an inquiry over to Ann and said, hey, we would love to have Colin on whenever he gets and by the time we were done, she was like, you want him on your next show?
Right. 2 days later.
Like
2 days later.
Ann is really great because I didn't even hit the button on the send to that text before she answered. So it was really something else.
She is one of the most remarkable people I think we know, period. We have this ongoing saying that if Ann Chen stops smiling, it was guaranteed the apocalypse is hitting very shortly thereafter.
Yeah, I don't want to live in a world where
Ann isn't smiling. No.
All right, but you know what? This perfect segues we got going here because
they're beautiful.
Because ServiceNow with both Colin and Kelly, we're doing this event, and I believe there's somebody else from ServiceNow that will be a part of that. And that event, some may be asking, is IRL 2025. You would
Whoa.
How about the segues are just flying? 2025 was off to a splendiferous beginning.
Wow. I haven't heard the word splendiferous for a long time.
Is that one of those words from that Sound of Music thing?
It's in that vein. I don't know if it's Sound of Music particularly, but for all I know, it's Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
I'll go with Willy over that.
Yeah,
that sounds better.
Closer to that.
Yeah,
but I mean, do you want to give it a whirl here?
No, this is where I turn things over to the venerable Paul Greenberg.
Yeah, well, my achy bones. right? So we're at Brent's on the money, man. It's a splendiferous start. We looks like, as it's turning out, we have a full agenda. Our keynote speaker is, going to be Brian Solis, who has written a book called Mind Shift. Aside from running global, head of global innovation at ServiceNow, he's even better known as one of the major thought leaders, basically in our universe in this century, and he had written a great book called Mind Shift. He was going to speak to that. We have a very right brain conference, because I don't know about you, but I've gotten totally sick and tired of going to conferences where the discussion is on how to technically implement this, how to find ROI, benchmarks, KPIs, metrics,
Wait a minute, you left out AI. How did you do that?
Oh, don't worry. It will exact its toll on me. I'm sure I'll be attacked by AI afterwards, and not entirely, as I'll mention in a very few seconds. So we instead went right-brained on this one. So we have conversations about sport, the business of sports, and we have a bunch of people from different teams coming, and we have a number of sports people attending who are not going to be necessarily speaking to. We have a discussion on gaming and PC and video gaming, and the model for that, and engagement model that's around that. We have two different conversations with investors about, and that's one of the places AI comes in, about how they're thinking about it. Some meaning from the first round angels to the PE and VCs, right? We have a lot of analysts and audience engagement planned too. I mean, we have great debate questions. The one which may be a little bit of an exception to the rule is the first one, which is called the Bro Hammer and the Cowboy, which is John Reed and Brian Summer,
yeah,
right? Who are basically bro. You'll see why we call them that when you watch the debate. There may not be what we're doing with the other two on that one, but we have two. We're going to have two analysts on the stage. The questions will be revealed at the point of the discussion, and there'll be one empty chair up there for somebody from the audience to go up and join them in the debate conversation. Not only that, but we have the CRM Watch List Grand Finale Awards, which will be announced throughout the days. The winners, the finalists, and the winners will be announced throughout the day, and the conference will be ended with that. And if that's not enough,
okay,
and it's actually more than enough for me. I'm already tired, right? So if that's not enough, we have the night before this amazing reception, and we're going to have all I'll tell you is, yes, there will be a lot of food, as it looks like, judging from what we're seeing. Yeah, Shashi's coming. He's one of the analysts who are going to be there. I mean, can't wait to have him. He's also one of the judges on the Watch List Grand Finale Awards. We also we not only have a huge amount of food, which is what it looks like at least, and not only have the beverages like wine and beer and non-alcoholic beverages and water and things like that, but we have an AI-assisted bourbon and donuts taste.
Oh my goodness.
And that's what I'm going to leave it at. I'm not going to tell you any more about it, except that it's AI-assisted bourbon and donuts taste. But it's also, in honor of our guest and the company that we met him at, it's human-centered.
I was really feeling confident about everything, but when you put donut and bourbon tasting in the hands of ChatGPT.
Oh, it's not. No, see, I made it a much larger group. It's Claude, ChatGPT, Gemini, and Copilot, but ultimately it was me who made the choices.
I'm glad that at least the human is still.
Oh no, the human's dominant
in the loop.
There was at least one donut. I didn't really like any of the choices. So
here's the thing. Here's what I gotta ask you guys, people. For food choices, AI doesn't eat. So why do we trust them to come up with the right bourbon for the right donut?
Well, see, that's the experiment. They may not have. Although I will say, because I already had choices that I had picked for most of the donuts, not all of them. And they did come up with, in 2 of the 4 donuts, 5 donuts rather, 2 of the 5 donuts, they came up with the ones I came up with as part of their. I asked for several options. They did come up with the ones I came up with, exactly the same in that regard.
Okay, so we can still blame you if this all goes terribly wrong.
Exactly. No, then I'll tell them that was the AIS.
I'm glad Rob Pinkerton was going to be there because
you notice that's why I didn't say which donuts were the ones.
Yeah.
I'm keeping it so that I have 5 options to say, oh, that didn't work. Now, if 4 of them fail, I got a problem.
Yeah, 4 out of 5. Anyway,
if 3 of them fail,
let me go to what I'm looking forward to is the Flying Biscuit breakfast today.
Oh my God, that's going to be amazing. Yeah. And judging from the menu, that choices that we had, that we actually are getting, it is really, really you may not need lunch or dinner after you've eaten the breakfast, judging from the options out there. They're absolutely astonishing. And Flying Biscuit, you can't go wrong there, man.
So I just want to do a quick shout out to I'm gonna bring their slides up. We are in amongst all the agenda and everything that's going on. We are going to have some, I guess, kind of fireside chats.
Yes,
with some of the folks who are really making this possible for us. Some of our sponsors, and we've got some great sponsors. Oracle, there's Rob Tarkoff on the far left there representing Oracle. Ricky Thakra is representing Zoho, and John Tashik is representing Salesforce, and we'll be doing some conversations with them as part of this too, right?
We're calling those sessions senior parentheses executive close parentheses moment. Just take the parentheses out and you'll get the joke.
Yeah, but Ricky is definitely not.
No, well, actually, none of them are. I mean, the only one who actually fits that mode is me. And the other thing we're doing, which we can't forget, is starting at noon, at lunchtime, in the community room, which is kind of next door.
I call it the live studio audience room.
Well, they don't, but we do. right. But in the live studio audience room, we will run, I think, 5 of our shows?
Somewhere.
We have 11 shows on the network, roughly. I mean, that'll change in a few weeks. But we're going to do, I think it's either 4 or 5 of our shows, including a panel of the Venerables.
I can't wait for the Venerable. Oh, that's going to be great.
Yeah, it's me, Dan Miller, Brent's, of course. It's a CRM Playaz episode, so technically I'm a host too. But the old people on the panel, see, Brent manages to stay out of that. The old people are me, Steve Gilmore, Dan Miller, and piping himself in from the border of Germany and Austria, Bob Stutz.
The hinterland.
Right, from the hinterlands of Europe, Bob Stutz.
And I just want to let you know, you didn't even know about this, but I did find a sponsor for just that. So that particular segment is going to be brought to you by both AARP and Geritol. So there you go.
Works. Listen, if AARP will give me free membership, I'll take it. It's not really worth it. Right. So.
Kirk. And also another virtual appearance will be made by Jonathan Becker, who is the San Jose Sharks president. We were hoping that he would be able to join us, but when the owner of the team has a birthday the same day, you kind of, you got to hang out with the
yeah. So SAP and Hasso Plattner own the team, and it's Hasso's birthday that on the 21st.
We should have just said, hey, you want to celebrate your birthday? Come on, we'll celebrate it with you.
We'll do it at the welcome reception.
Yeah.
I think, and there'll be other things going on. We have Heather Willems, who will be, she and her team will be up there. I don't know if you've seen that, but the people who draw,
they visualize the speakers, what the
speakers as in real time. They'll be there. And the other thing we do need to make note of is if you can't attend, go to IRL2025.com, which is the site with the agenda and everything else. There is a registration form for virtual attendance there. All right. So please feel free to sign up. If you do, you can watch it without that, to be honest, but you'll be able to see it on YouTube and LinkedIn and elsewhere. But
I would say I would really push people to do that, because if you go that route, register, you'll get a link to go and watch it via the the Zoom event, the special Zoom event platform
Exactly.
for our event, and then you'll have your option of going through all. There's going to be 4 things being streamed simultaneously. There's going to be the general session. There's going to be the live streaming shows. There's going to be the Heather Cam, we're calling it, where if you want to just look at how Heather is visualizing what the speakers on the main floor are talking about, the Heather Cam is gonna. I got to check this out when they get set up. So that's the 3rd, and then the 4th, if you like Monday Night Football and you like not watching Troy and Joe Buck, because quite honestly, I never liked Joe Buck, but I like Peyton and Eli. So while the game is on and while the main broadcast is going, I'm over chilling with Peyton and Eli because they're watching and they're talking and they're inviting in guests. So we are going to have the Playaz cast. We tried to get Peyton and Eli. They're a little bit out of our budget. So we just went with we'll do the Playaz cam, and we are going to recruit people from our community to be a part of that.
They asked for the budget they asked for was $2 million more than Juan Soto. Juan Soto's lifetime contract.
Yeah, we can't get Ron Soto either. So.
Juan.
Yeah. Juan gone. Soto. Anyway.
Juan, that's right. Juan gone.
So if you want to learn more about the event, IRL2025.com is where you can go, and you can sign up there to get to the register for the virtual invitation. I would suggest you do that.
I do too. I'm just saying, if you for some reason don't, you can still look, but you're missing a lot of the experience.
And that's what it's about.
Want to do that.
It's all about the experience.
Amen.
And you know what else it's about?
Yeah.
And now it's time for Stump the Godfather with the venerable Paul Greenberg. Brought to you by Microsoft Dynamics 365 Copilot.
Man, it's been a while.
I thought you'd celebrate the fact that I was 75 by leaving me alone with this thing.
You didn't have one on your birthday celebration.
Yeah, that was about as good as it got.
Yeah, you're pushing your luck now.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is the first Stump the Godfather of 2025. Oh, man, this feels good. Doesn't it?
No. No, it doesn't. Never does.
Oh, I think you're gonna like this one. This is I think it's an interesting one. So let's get right to it.
You know, talk about PSA grades.
Just want to make sure I didn't blow it for the first one of the year. All right, I didn't blow it. All right. So, I have a Seeking Alpha account. And I get all sorts of really interesting information about events, transcripts from quarterly calls, transcripts from presentations at conferences, all that good stuff. So something came across my radar just yesterday. And this is the question. 18 to 24 months after the start of the Gen AI phenomenon, just blankety blank percent of organizations are in production at scale with AI initiatives. And I should have gotten rid of that comma at the end.
I was going to ask, of course, being as picky as always.
I know.
What's after the comma?
The blank. That's what's after the comma.
Well, I mean, I will tell you one thing, and I'll wait till everybody else takes a guess, but I see the word just in front of it. Now, of course,
that's a clue. That was the hint.
That is a clue. But
that's the hint.
On the other hand, means what are they defining as production at scale?
I was waiting for you to ask me that.
Company? Does that mean lots of something?
It means like when I look at these Seeking Alpha things, they're usually talking about Fortune 500, Fortune 1000 companies and what they do at scale. It's not the mom and pops at scale, because that scale might be like a 5-pound scale. I don't know. No, we're talking about full grade enterprise Fortune 500 kind of folks. Shashi is already in. Shashi gets the award for being the first contestant. And he beats Rebecca just by a second. All right, so Shashi is saying 34%, but Rebecca is saying 7%. And Patrick, does one wolf mean like 1%? Is that how
one wolf is about? No, I think one wolf in this is 5%.
Are you? Wait a minute.
About 20 wolves for
20. All right, so we're Rebecca just let us know. Does that one wolf account for like a 5% per wolf? I don't know where we've gone with this, but anyway. All right, so 34 for Shashi, 7 for Rebecca, and we're still trying to determine what the wolf equates to.
Does Dan have a guess?
Yes, our guess. If you have a guess, why don't you put it into the private chat, and we'll let people know what your guess is. And if anybody else is out there, get your guess in the next couple of seconds before the venerable Paul Greenberg gives us his guess. I see. Oh, he's looking. He's pondering. I can see him looking up this guy. In the meantime, Sahil is coming in at 13%. Oh, and I do see. he says at scale, but then he says probably 5%. So all right, we got him. All right, wait a minute. So Rebecca, does that mean that one wolf equals 10%?
Oh,
right.
yeah. Okay.
Okay. All right. So here you go. All right. So we got 34%. We got 7%. We got 13%. We got 5%. And we got 10%. The venerable Paul Greenberg, your guess is?
Well, somebody took the number I was going to use, so I'll change it. But I'm going to say 8%.
Ooh, who took? Was it Rebecca that took yours?
Yeah.
Okay. So we got 7. We got 5. We got 7. We got 8. We got 10. We got 13. And we got 34. That's enough. We've got a quorum.
A minion if you're Jewish.
We've got,
but we don't actually have. We don't have a minion, even if you aren't Jewish.
And I'm not Jewish.
Right. Well, it doesn't matter. Even if you aren't Jewish, we don't have a minion.
I'm still trying to get over the minion thing.
Minion means 10.
Oh, well, we don't. Oh, look, it's Sven. Sven coming in 1%.
Yeah.
He's doing the Price is Right thing, I think. That's what he's saying. All right. So that's a lot of answers for it. We're getting off to a hot start. See how people have missed Stump the Godfather so much. See that?
All except for the Godfather.
All right. So here is the answer to the question of how many organizations have put Gen AI into production at scale. The answer is 11%. You guys are all around. Rebecca is the closest. No, wait a minute.
Patrick is
the closest.
Patrick won.
Oh, that's funny. Patrick is the winner. We went from
doggy treats. Doggy treats.
Well, I call them Scooby snacks.
Okay, yeah, I'll call them that.
Back in the day, I was a kid when that was on. That just sounded so good. A Scooby snack actually sounded good. And I actually remember asking my mom, could I have a Scooby snack?
Really?
Yeah, and after she slapped me, I'm just kidding. I did. Because it sounds good. It sounds so cute. Oh, a Scooby snack,
No, it actually does sound good.
Yeah, but then you realize it's like a dog biscuit, not as good. But anyway, off to a rousing start.
Yes,
I think.
We are.
Off to a rousing start. That was Stump the Godfather, brought to you by Microsoft Dynamics 365 Copilot. Until further notice. All right. So, perfect timing. We are just in the groove because it is time for the venerable Paul Greenberg to introduce today's guest.
Okay. So, I met this. Well, I didn't really meet this gentleman. I saw this gentleman in action at user testings. What was the name of the conference? This?
Yeah, this.
Yeah, this. The Human Insight Summit. At this, in the executive session where he and another person we'll be talking about another time presented on how they were using user testing. What made this special, and one of the reasons I'm really happy we have him on the show was, again, I don't know him well, but I know I saw him and I saw him in action, and that told me a lot. One of the things is incredibly articulate. He grasps big ideas, simplifies them in a way that anyone can understand, and the audience gets engaged as a result. Now, so needless to say, when we got really interested in having him on, I did do a little background. Now he's the CTO of Collectors, and I'll get to that in 1 second before we bring him on. But he does a lot of other things too. He's actually an investor. He's a philanthropist. I mean, and here's the deal. what I just told you, he should be like 68 years old, right? But he is nowhere.
We could put him on the Venerables panel.
That's right. He literally could be on the Venerable panel, but he isn't. He's not even close to that. He's probably, I'm guessing, 40, right? 41, but maybe even.
Oh, he's shaking his head in the affirmative. So you're in the ballpark.
All right. So yeah, I mean, it's a guess, right? But I mean, he's a young guy and he just nailed it. Now, the other thing I realized is he's the guy that ruined all the memory of my childhood. Because I had he is the CTO of collectors. And for those who don't know collectors, when you see grading for baseball cards, football cards, basketball cards, whatever, cards, and not just cards, other collectibles too, autographs, you name it. And they say things like mint 9, right? Or something like 9.5, and it's PSA graded. That's them. So what that made me realize is how much money I lost using my baseball cards as spokes on my bike and losing them or winning them even, and then losing them again in flipping with my friends, right? We used to play up against the wall. We take all these cards, which are now encased so that the edges aren't even slightly anything but perfectly sharp. And we would take them and go up against the wall, right, to knock down the cards. And
like, I mean, $100,000.
I probably lost several $1 million because some of those cards, like the Mickey Mantle cards and those, I had them all, right? So
you didn't have the Honus Wagner card, did you?
No.
Right.
I'm not that old, right? Yeah, a T9 cigarette card, I think it was, a tobacco card. Anyway, I had all of those cards, right? So his company has ruined all my childhood memories. And for that, I don't necessarily thank them, but I appreciate what these guys have done. They have transformed the market. And Dan is in charge of the technology and the engagement with the collectors and others, and making that work via the technology for collectors, which is a major force in the world of, collectors. So let's bring on Dan Van Tran, CTO of Collectors.
Ooh, look at the background.
What I mean?
Look what's
got the collectibles right up.
Yeah, those are the cards you beat me. Your father beat me at flipping. Right.
It resonates so much because I remember my mom telling me, hey, you want your old cards back? I'm about to throw them out. I was like, of course, like I'd love to keep them. And so of course she sends it to me in a giant garbage bag, just in raw, and so they're worthless anyway. So
wow. Well, first of all, yeah, thanks for joining us. And I did not as much research as Paul did, but I did a little research. And when I say the name Alex Morgan, what does that mean to you?
So Alex Morgan, very interesting quick story. When I got into card collecting again, because I collected cards as a kid, and like a lot of collectors, you go in and out of the hobby. But around 2018, I wanted to get back into card collecting. I wanted to collect a player that had significance to me. And a lot of the players I collected growing up, like Michael Jordan, very unattainable by that point. Very expensive. Very unattainable. And so I was researching just different players from different sports, and I liked soccer, but didn't really know many of the players. But then as I was Googling, I found out about Alex Morgan. And the thing that really stuck out to me about her is just how much she was doing for girls in sports and building equality and really like trying to equalize the salaries and make it as prominent as a sport as men's sports. And so I really could get behind that. And on top of that, when I started looking at her cards, I realized not many people are collecting her cards. And I actually could go out there and buy a lot of the one-of-ones. And this is a card that they just produced one of. And so they were out there and very easy for me to get. So at that point, I started acquiring all of these cards, mostly for fun. And then very quickly, I realized, asking around, trying to find more of these, that I may very well be the top collector of Alex Morgan cards in the world. And so as I got into my role now and started asking and interacting with more prominent collectors, I'm pretty certain that's the case. I can now say,
wow.
I'm hoping out of the woodwork. I am the #1 Alex Morgan collector in the world. And I hope I'm wrong. I want to find out who that person actually is and trade some stuff with them.
Have you ever got a chance to meet Alex Morgan?
No, and that's like one of the questions I get a lot. It's a little bit of the don't meet your hero sort of thing.
Yeah,
I'm sure he's
Oh.
a perfectly fine individual.
I
But I just haven't had the opportunity. So maybe
listen,
one day.
my hero is Mickey Mantle, and we know he was kind of getting drunk all the time and things like that. But when you're a little boy, you don't notice that at all, not a bit. And still, even to this day, he was my hero, right? And I don't forget that. So
Wouldn't it be cool if you were able to have a beer with the Mick?
yeah, well,
That'd be
he was an alcoholic, so it'd be a
Well,
lot more.
Maybe more than one.
Probably a lot more than one, right? So yeah, I mean, look, that's what's fascinating. I mean, what one of the things when you were talking at user testing was you were talking about basically the way you guys use them to actually engage with your base, right? But at a level that was, I mean, look, when it boils down to it, there's a million people who collect things. I mean, I actually, my childhood thing was baseball cards, coins, and stamps. And I picked up coins and stamps again when I got old. I don't know why exactly, but I did. But at the same time, I have a pretty valuable collection right now. So, but the thing is that you're also starting to look at, if you look at, say, heritage auctions or something like that, your grades, like the difference between a 9 and a 10, for example, on a baseball card is $1 million, right?
Jesus.
So yeah, oh yeah, no, you're talking. Look, you think coins and stamps are like, especially coins, you'll get $10-12 million single coins that people sell. But when it comes to cards, it blows all of that out of the water. I mean, it goes much bigger.
It's all about the scarcity and everything.
Yeah, but so how do you, but there's also a fairly, like, at that end, you're dealing with very wealthy people, basically. People who can afford to spend $12 million on a baseball card, right? So, but you also are dealing with kids who are buying the cards, who are more savvy than, say, when I grew up. But at the same time, they also are collecting the card. They just want it to be in good condition, and they recognize now it's worth something. That's a very disparate group there. How do you actually how do you think about that kind of, because it's so broad. How do you think about that kind of engagement at all?
It's a great question. So just to give it a little bit more context, Collector was actually founded in 1986, and so they actually started on some of the collectible categories you're talking about, coins, stamps. They actually even did diamond authentication and things like that.
Wow.
They picked up cards in 1991, so a few years after that. But the company's been around for a long time. So fast forward to 2021, the business was doing quite well, and the card business actually overtook all the other categories. But they were seeing so much business that they could not keep up with it. And so that was the opportunity that arose for an investment company to come in and try to take the company from public to private, so that we could start rebuilding it to keep up with all this volume that was coming in. So I came in as part of that acquisition to help rebuild the technology, the 35 to 40-year-old technology that needed to be revamped. But the thing that was very both fascinating and frightening to me when I joined was they had no idea why they achieved that level of success versus some of the competitors. They didn't quite understand the users. Like, why did people put so much stake in our name versus having some other one of our competitors' names? Why did they trust us to the degree that they did, so that there was $1 million difference between the 10 and a 9? So that's when we reached out to user testing to start to build a program to understand this, to research it, to really figure that out. And so, to your point, we actually had a large, diverse group of clients across all different demographics, and we just needed a way to really think about them, to organize them, so that way we could think about how are we going to prioritize the rebuilding of our products and technology, and to better meet their needs. And that's when we started realizing very interesting things about each one of those demographics, about how the majority of our customer base isn't really investor flipper. They're a good portion of it, but for a while we thought that was the biggest demographic. It isn't. It was just during the pandemic, a lot of people turned to collectibles because all the leagues shut down, right?
Yeah.
And so they and also everyone was stuck home, and they had all this expendable money that they were just starting to gather. So people just started pouring money into NFTs, which fortunately didn't really amount to anything,
Thank
but
God.
also a lot of cards and other collectibles. And so people then, as a result, started flipping these a lot. But that was a short-term thing. When you actually look at the overall population, most people are just hobbyist collectors.
Right.
They're collecting to your point, or just hold on to things that they have some sort of significance with, players or teams, or like hometowns or things along those lines. We didn't know that until we did this research. And so it just showed the importance of having this user research and using platforms like user testing to really go deeper into understanding our customers.
So
What
go ahead. Chris.
I'm just curious, like what it sounds like you just explained some of the surprises. Were there some things that you guys never even thought about, but then coming out of this project, this looking at this data and analyzing it, you found out, man, were we way off on this? Or why did we never even look in this direction when it seems to be, it was like a significant driver for what we do?
One of the things that surprised us, and so to be fair, we came in and nearly everything was low-hanging fruit. There were 20 people within the tech organization, for example, with the company was 750 people, and it was going to grow to 1,200 by the end of that year. So proportionally, that's a very small technical organization. 11 software engineers, so not many people to build a lot of products. And there were over 300 websites, a dozen mobile apps, like dozens of things for them to work on, but only 11 software engineers. So everything was low-hanging fruit. There were lots of things for us to focus on. So we kind of knew bits and pieces of what our customers might want or where we could improve things, but we didn't know how to prioritize. I think the thing, though, of that list that really surprised me personally is that I took for granted that I knew the process of how to submit the collectible to the company to be graded and authenticated. Now, actually, if I take a look at it from a fresh perspective as a brand new collector, or just even a person who just opened a pack of cards or has a coin that was given down, from passed down through their family or something that they want to authenticate and grade, that process is so impossibly hard.
Yes.
And so we took a look at that, and we already were prioritizing some tools to help with that, but we accelerated that based on this feedback. And if you even dig that down and unpack that a bit more, one of the hardest parts that people had a difficult time with was actually trusting, hey, if I send this in the mail, is it going to get there? Like, why would I send $1 million item, through the mail and like insure it and all that? And so we realized the importance of having these live events, drop-off events, which we just had earlier this week, actually, where people can come into our office or come to a card show or some other location. We actually have done it with like the teams like the Phoenix Suns, where you can actually go and like after a game or before a game, come and drop stuff off. And so people actually found that was much better. If we could find venues close to them, they'd rather drive, 15, 20 minutes, hand it off in person, and then know that from that point on, it's insured and protected. And so we started shifting some of our strategy to include those sorts of services as well.
I know that like PCGS and NGC or on the coin side have very similar approach. I mean, I actually have had several coins which I had to get authenticated. And it's also just an onerous process. I mean, you're paying them X money, and if you try to buy a membership or something, then they say, well, okay, that coin doesn't work for our membership. Before you get for part of membership, sorry, that's separate. I mean, it's very unfriendly to the customer, and then it takes a month to 2 months to get it back. And you're dealing with higher volume than coins by a long shot. So, but one of the things that I was wondering, because you're making obviously the most important point, which is, you'd be nothing if they didn't trust your who you are. And that I know that's why PCGS, NGC on the coin side are the trusted ones, where ANAX and ICG are they're okay, but nobody really trusts them that much. So you might crack the thing from those two, but not from the first two, right? So you're in that situation. But let's say I'm curious about how you use, like, for example, technology for another part of the process, not the grading, but the authentication, right? Like when you're authenticating say a Lou Gehrig game worn jersey or game used bat, how do you use technology to do that? Since you obviously can't go talk to him, right? So,
Is this yours?
yeah.
No, it's a great question. So it's actually, if you take a step back and look at AI in general and technology in general, where the dream of it is to automate everything, right? You have all these autonomous things and robots and just everything that will do stuff for us automatically. We're nowhere near that. And actually, if you look at AI, even the best AI today, for me personally, I feel like it's more at a intern level. You treat it as if it's like some not even entry level, just an intern that's working with you, and it can do some tasks well, but you always have to double check its work. And so that's where AI is today. I think one day it'll get to entry level and then expert level, and we'll get there eventually. But if you think of the technology in that way, you can't and shouldn't trust it to authenticate a lot of these things, because if you do, it's going to tell you, "Oh, yeah, this is definitely real." It's definitely not, and it'll make you hallucinate. And so our process actually, once the technology gets there, will be ripe for it. We actually look through, for example, game footage. And so if there's a Michael Jordan, a purported Michael Jordan jersey, we'll actually look at the threads and try to find and match it to the exact games that he wore it at, and be able to tell you, oh, this was a second year Michael Jordan jersey. He played at these games on these dates, and here's all the evidence, the 20 points of evidence that show how that's accurate. And we'll do all the sorts of testing, forensics, etc. It's very like CSI. It's very cool. But you can automate bits and pieces of that, but you wouldn't fully automate today. But in order to accelerate that, because as you might imagine, doing one jersey then would take months.
Yep.
What we can do is start to build automated technology. And you can imagine, just like knowing that process and knowing what technology might be available today, how you might do that. And so we're starting to build bits and pieces to do that. But at the end of the day, you still want the expert to make the final call. So even with grading, we will highlight, oh, there's some issues with the edges here, the surface here. But at the end of the day, we just put that information up to the expert and highlight it. It's their call. They might overrule the estimated grade, or they may agree with it. But at the end of the day, it's their call. And that way we can stand behind it, because at the end of the day, human actually looked through it, verified it. We'll just save them time so we can go through these things faster.
So you save them time in what you just outlined, but a lot of the kind of the AI discussions, right, well, at least at the enterprise, it seems like, in addition to saving time, of course, and being more efficient, is the ROI. What is this gonna give us in terms of more revenue or more profitability or things like that? So it sounds like definitely for authentication and for grading, but how do you guys judge how this is working from an ROI perspective? Better authentication, better grading, all the above, and how does that kind of drive the bottom line for you guys?
Yeah, it's a great question. It to be follows the same two things you'd look for any business: the bottom line and top line, right? And so you could apply technology on either side. So in this case, we're talking bottom line, like how to improve the operational costs, right, and efficiency. And so that reduces how long it takes, how much it costs you to produce your products and services. On the flip side, we're also using it to actually extend how much comes in to us. So for example, we're working on some features on our mobile app today where you can actually scan a collectible. We're starting with trading cards because as you probably know, Paul, the coins are so complex. And so we're going to take a step back before we look at the permutations of all coins. Cards are relatively easy, but we have a mobile app where you can actually scan the card. It'll tell you what that card is and then give you an estimated value range for if it has a PSA 9, 8, 10, 10, whatever, of how much it might be worth. And you can think in the future, once we build the technology to also give an estimated grade, you can also then even give more insight to the user to say like, and likely this specific card will receive somewhere between this and this. And so the value will be this and this. And then they can make a call of whether or not to submit it to us for grading. But that should open up the top line because as a new collector, again, it's so complex and such a niche space. If you are just someone who received a pack of cards, or you're in a card shop and you're opening it up, how do you know what everything is worth? A lot of us as experts, we go onto eBay or like other sites like Heritage Auctions and just start looking at comparables. It's like buying a house, right? You're just like kind of shopping around, looking, comparing. It's not one-to-one, but it's close. But we have all the expertise and we have decades of data that we can then synthesize into a solution and then put that in people's hands and then help to drive that decision for them within seconds. And so that's what we're building technology to do. And so besides just optimizing the operations and reducing costs there, we're trying to expand the business by making it more accessible to everyone.
Wow. So, all right. So let me throw something out to you. I have a friend, he's in the sports business. It means actually works for a team, and he personally has 30,000 baseball cards. And let's say he came to you and said he wants to submit the whole thing. Right now, they could be worthless for all you know. It could be 30,000 baseball cards worth, $3,500, right? They're worth 50 cents a piece or 20 cents a piece or something. But how do you handle something that large? Because I imagine you're getting complete collections a lot, right? So, and that one again, total crapshoot as to whether there's value in it or not.
I'm guessing it would be like you got to take the whole thing, the whole 30,000. There might be like 5 really great cards,
maybe,
but they're gonna like, you got to take this whole thing.
Yeah, and so I'll separate it into 2 parts. From our side, how we handle that, and then also my recommendation to this.
He's not trying
how to actually handle it. Yeah, it's just hypothetical, right? Yeah. But so we actually, and we're lucky because the year just ended, so I can give you our actual actuals of how much we graded. We graded just in trading cards alone over 15 million trading cards in 2020. And so we have the volume, we have the capacity, and we're only growing it. And with automation, we'll be able to do more and more. But and that, just for reference, that's over 6 times our next biggest competitor, and that's why we're so dominant in this space. But so from a volume perspective, yeah, we can handle it. That's fine. And we have a lot of experts who are expert in various categories like Pokemon cards or sports cards or whatever. So they'll know what to look for and how to handle each thing. But from the collector's side of things, I definitely would not recommend submitting all of that, because even at we get employee discounts, right? And like it's capped at how many we can submit per year, but we get a discount. Even at a discount rate, that's a ridiculous amount to be paying for mission costs. And so you should filter through it. And that's why we want to build the technology so that right now, even our first set of features, it's going to be 1 card at a time. But even so, it'll take a few seconds per card. You'll be able to see comparables, not just what the value is. So we actually have an AI machine learning generated value based on the image and everything else. So we can say, oh, it's likely between here and here for most cards, not every card, but for most cards, we can generate that value. But we also link out to, and here are some recent sales on Heritage, Golden, eBay, wherever, so that way you can see and make your own assessment of whether or not it's worth submitting. But in the future, we're going to have features where for example, you can think of augmented reality, just hovering over each card and not even have to click, and it will just hover over like a grade, don't grade, or a batching type process where you can just lay out 50 cards at once and then click, and then it'll tell you like the value for each one or the value range for each one, and then kind of start highlighting for you what to submit. So these are the exact things, and it's one of the number 1 questions I get from people all the time, like, hey, can I send you a picture of 100 of my cards? You can tell me which ones to grade, and I'll do it one-off here and there, but it's a lot of time.
Do you see that, like the day where like somebody could just, like for Perplexity, you could attach a PDF and say, give me the value of this, and maybe it gives them a ballpark figure, and that way is kind of moving some of that process you're offloading it to the front end before it even gets to you guys?
Yeah, we have two products today that can do that. So one is called Card Ladder, cardladder.com. And so this uses a statistical approach in calculating the value. It actually looks at recent sales and heavily weighs the most recent sale. But you can actually go on that site, enter a picture or enter information about the card, like, oh, this is a 2024 Wemby or whatever, right? And it'll come up with the value. Or like I said, in our mobile app, we actually already start to have some of that where you can highlight the card or search for it and see what the values are. And our next generation of this mobile app will actually let you just scan the card and see what the values are. And so we're there. We're almost there. But in the future, we'll even have additional things that you can do from that point to give you even more confidence or give you even more information around, okay, so let's say there's this card. How many cards are there that are at a PSA 10, a 9? Just so you know how rare is this. Like, even if I do get it graded and it gets a certain grade, what might that mean in terms of how many are there in the world?
Now, I want to go to this little question because we're running out of time. That our mutual friend Susie Penner, actually, she's responsible for us talking to you right now. So shout out to Susie. And I'll marry this with I think this might be kind of a general thing, because what she's saying about her father's collection, my sister, her husband passed away years ago, and she found this pretty significant coin collection, and she wants me to get Paul to look at it. But I was just, generally speaking, there's lots of people that kind of in that kind of use case. What's the best way for them to kind of move forward and try to figure out what they have, or how much it's actually worth, or how much it's not worth?
Yeah, so I'll give a shout out to some of my friends at Golden Auctions, golden.com. They do a tremendous job of actually their consignment team. You can send them pictures of the collectible and they will give you an idea of, like, okay, so these are the ones that are actually worth something or that you should look deeper into. These are the ones that are likely not worth as much. And for the ones that are worth looking into, if you can send us some more high resolution images, we can give you better assessment. Their incentive, of course, is that they want to consign it and sell it, right? But they will do that initial service for you. And especially if you don't have any idea about what to do, that's helpful. We're trying to build a similar thing, the technology initially with cards, to do the same thing, because we understand that even that takes time, and you have to go through others in order to do that. And so that's why we want to build this mobile app or update our website to be able to have everyone self-service for a similar thing. I think the recommendation I can make for something you can do today is, if you go onto eBay, you can actually search through what's live or recent sales. And so you just look at the back of the card or the coin and enter as much information as you can, or do the image search. eBay's image search is actually quite good. So you can actually just take a photo and it'll pop up all these results for you. And so use that as a first step. And it's going to give you just a high level. You'll see things that are $1 all the way to, like, let's say $1,000 for that same card, but it gives you an idea as you comb through of what you might be expecting. In some cases, if you see just $1 to $3, you know it's not worth that much. Right. In some cases, if you see $500 to $1,000, like, oh, maybe this is worth looking more into.
Cool. Okay, Susie, so I hope you got that.
One, I know we're kind of up against this. This is the second to last question, and Brent knows what the final one is, of course. So you do a lot of other things that really, you're not like just CTO collector and that's your whole life. You actually have a really, really diverse life. You're doing a ton of things. You're an angel investor, you're mentoring, you're doing charitable work. Can you talk about that a bit?
Yeah, so I get bored easily. I'm sure that that you guys are the same, but I gauge. So when I think about my life, initially when I was really young, the thing I wanted to do was be a tremendous tech entrepreneur and make a huge difference on the world. And I slowly realized over time that there is just such a small fraction of people that can be equipped and like be lucky enough to follow the path in order to do that. And so as I got older, and this is like into my teens, I realized the best thing I can do for the world is just to impact as many people as positively as possible. And so I made that my mission, is like, no matter what I'm doing, no matter where I am, try to mentor as many people as possible, help as many people, educate people, do whatever I could in as many ways as I can. And so that is the reason why I do a lot of these philanthropic things or work through the angel investment group, because a large part of that is me helping startups to understand, here's how you can improve your pitch or like find product market fit. And I feel like it's been very fulfilling for me to meet so many amazing people who are also very ambitious, and hopefully they'll be able to bring a lot of their great ideas to the world to solve all of our problems soon. But that's why I do so many of the things I do.
That's
You're
really
a
cool.
good man, sir.
Very cool.
You really are.
All right.
Although, okay, Brent.
Yeah. Well, I actually got a real quick question before we go to the. So I got it. What is it? The penultimate? Is that how they say it?
Yeah,
The
this is the
penultimate? Okay.
penultimate question.
So what's the most valuable, expensive collectible you've ever had in your hands to touch and feel?
Oh, in my hands? Oh, that's tough. I have held a T206, like an Honest Wagner, and so
Wow.
probably worth that one was probably worth 30 to 40 million.
Whoa. Oh man. How was that? Did you feel any pressure holding something that valuable in your hand?
I held my breath, but it was a PSA 10 too, so I think it's the only one.
Wow.
And so the just a quick story on this. So the whole legend behind this is that the tobacco cards, when the people back in the day used to create cigarettes and cigarette cards, they used to use little pieces of paper to protect the cigarettes from rubbing against the carton. The tobacco companies realized they could put ads on it. They started putting pictures of baseball players so that people could collect them and buy more of the cigarettes. So one player, Honest Wagner, he noticed that a lot of kids were buying it as a result, and so he said, "No, you're not doing that anymore. Send all your cards of me back to me." And he burned them, threw in the river, or whatever. And so there are only a handful that survived that, and that's why they're worth so much. And of those, a 10 means it's in pristine condition, like perfect crisp edges, corners, surface, everything. Even a 10 in a modern card is almost impossible to find. So a 10 in that is why it was worth.
Yeah, they're usually like 5, 4.5, 6, maybe
30 or 40 million dollars.
But that might have been a unique card.
I bet his mom was probably tell them, don't put that in your bicycle thing. I mean, just the same.
I'm telling you, I
wow.
20 years ago. If I had known then.
Jesus. All right. Well,
so much.
All right, so this is the last question. And quite honestly, we might have to retire this because this team is so terrible now. It's kind of hard to hate them. But anyway, do you have a favorite NFL team?
So I grew up on Long Island. My team, I was always Knicks, Mets, Jets, Islanders, and so you can see
you're a millennial.
You can see the theme.
It's a millennials list
now, but yeah.
where in Long Island did you grow up?
Glen Cove, Nassau County.
I grew up in East Meadow. That's why I was asking.
Oh, nice. I have a lot of friends in East Meadow.
Yeah, I mean, I'm old school though. I'm Yankees, Rangers, Knicks, Giants.
Yeah.
Let's just say our football teams did not exactly do well. We had a pretty horrible year.
Yeah, how could you hate a Jets fan? You guys are...
No, I actually don't hate the other New York teams. I'm not like that. I mean, I also didn't feel like losing Juan Soto to the Mets was like, okay, that's fine. I mean, Yankee fans are so stupid about that sometimes. They actually were talking about, oh my God, he's giving up a legacy to go to them. I said, what legacy? He was a rental for a year and he's 26 years old and his brain just finished forming, right? So he had no legacy, right? He doesn't even know what legacy is yet, right? So, I mean, we did fine in the offseason.
By the way, you always know when Alan Berkson is listening or watching, because the first reference of the Jets, we're at 4:00. We haven't heard a peep from him all the time until the Jets reference.
He's diehard. He's along your lines of New York rooting interest.
And Susie also says thank you, and we say thank you.
Yeah, you're awesome, man. It was
absolutely.
Great.
Thank you for having me. This was awesome. You guys have such a great dynamic. Really appreciate being on the show.
Oh, you should plan on coming back. You really should. I mean, the other thing, I don't know if you can make the time, but you're invited to our conference on January 21st and 22nd in Atlanta. And there will be a number of sports people there. So you might be some potential.
By the way, will the guy that has the 30,000 cars,
he be? Yeah, he will.
Oh, I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, I think you know. But come.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah, definitely send me the info.
I will. We'll send you details.
All right. So Dan, thanks again for, and I love a person whose all three names actually rhyme together. I mean, that's
I'm cheating. It's actually Daniel, but yeah.
We'll stick with Dan for.
Yeah.
But Dan, thank you so much for doing this. We really appreciate it. And on behalf of Dan Van Tran, I am Brent Leary.
I'm Paul Greenberg.
We are the CRM Players, and for the first time this year, if I can only find it's like crazy.
You have to find it, man.
Well, you know what? They're changing things around on StreamYard. But anyway, we can't say goodbye until we say hello to Minnie.
And thanks for the socks, Minnie.
Yeah.